Chapter 1. The Marriage She Never Valued. My name is Ethan, and for 5 years I believed love could survive anything. I believed that if two people truly cared for each other, no problem could be bigger than their bond. I believed marriage was not just a promise made on a wedding day. It was a choice we made every single day. And every day, I chose Claire. Do you ever think about how far we have come? I asked Claire one evening while we sat on our balcony. She looked at the city lights instead of looking at me. Sometimes, she replied. I smiled. Sometimes? I thought you would say always. She gave a small smile, but it disappeared quickly. Ethan, not everything is as simple as you think. I looked at her carefully. What does that mean? She played with her phone. I just feel like something is missing. Those words confused me. Missing? Claire, we have everything we planned for. We have our home, our memories, and each other. She sighed. You always talk about what we have, but sometimes I wonder what we could have had. I did not understand her. After 5 years together, after all the sacrifices I made, she was looking somewhere else. I had worked extra hours to pay for our first apartment. I had supported her dreams, even when I had to put mine aside. I remembered every small thing she loved, because making her happy made me happy. But lately, Claire had changed. She no longer asked about my day. She no longer talked about our future. And whenever we argued, she brought up someone from her past. Ryan, her old college crush. Ryan was always different, she said one night. I looked at her in disbelief. Different how? He was exciting. He made everything feel new. I forced myself to laugh. Claire, are you seriously comparing me to someone you knew years ago? I'm not comparing you. You just said he was exciting. She became quiet. That silence hurt more than an answer. I wanted to believe it was nothing. I wanted to believe my fears were wrong. Claire, do you still love me? She looked away. Why are you asking that? Because I feel like I'm losing you. She did not answer immediately. I don't know what I feel anymore. Those words stayed with me. I spent many nights convincing myself that this was just a phase. I told myself every relationship had difficult moments. I told myself Claire would remember everything we built together. Then Ryan came back into her life. At first, she acted like it was nothing. He just moved back here, she said. Okay, I replied. If he is your friend, I trust you. She looked surprised. You're not jealous? No, because I believe in us. I said those words with complete confidence. I did not know that my trust would become the thing that hurt me the most. Days passed, and Claire became more distant. One evening, I found her sitting alone in the living room. You need to tell me what is happening, I said. She looked nervous. I need some time. Time for what? To understand myself. My heart started beating faster. Is this because of Ryan? She did not answer. That was enough. Claire, please be honest with me. She closed her eyes. I don't know if I want this marriage anymore. I felt like the room became silent. What? I feel trapped, Ethan. That sentence broke something inside me. Trapped? After everything we built. I'm not saying you are a bad husband. Then why are you leaving? Because I need to know if there is something else for me. I stared at her. Something else. That was how she described the life we created. I wanted to fight. I wanted to remind her about our first date, our wedding day, and every promise we made. But I stayed quiet. Because deep down I realized something. I could not force someone to love me. The next morning, Claire sat across from me at the kitchen table. Her face was calm. Too calm. I made my decision, she said. I already felt the pain coming. What decision? I think we should divorce. The word felt impossible. Divorce? Yes. I looked at her, hoping she would say it was a mistake. But Claire, she interrupted me. It's not forever. Maybe it is just a break. A break. She said it like she was taking a vacation. But for me, it was the end of the life I knew. I looked at the woman I loved and realized she had already walked away emotionally. She just had not left yet. I held my wedding ring tightly and asked myself one question. How could the person who promised to stay forever be the same person who decided leaving was easy? I did not know it then, but that moment was not the end of my life. It was the beginning of the man I would become. Chapter 2. The Divorce That Broke Me. My name is Ethan, and the morning after Claire asked for divorce felt like I had woken up inside someone else's nightmare. I kept looking at her empty chair, expecting her to return and tell me she was confused. But she never did. I walked into the kitchen and saw the divorce papers on the table. "Are you really doing this?" I asked. Claire looked at me with tired eyes. "Ethan, we already talked about this." "No, you talked about leaving. I was still trying to save us." She looked away. "I need freedom." "Freedom from me?" She stayed silent. That silence hurt more than any argument. I wanted to ask about Ryan. I wanted to ask if every moment we shared had become meaningless. Instead, I lowered my voice. "Was I ever enough for you?" Claire looked at me. "You were a good husband." I almost laughed. "A good husband? That sounds like something you say about a person you respect, not someone you love." She had no answer. I signed the papers with shaking hands. Every signature felt like I was losing another piece of my life. After Claire left, I sat alone in our apartment. The walls were full of memories. Our first photo, our wedding picture, the small painting she bought on our anniversary. Everything around me reminded me of someone who had already chosen another life. For 3 days, I barely slept. I stopped answering calls. I stopped eating properly. I kept replaying every conversation, searching for the moment when I failed. Then my sister Mia arrived. She opened the door and looked at me. "Ethan, what happened to you?" I forced a smile. "I'm fine." She crossed her arms. "No, you're not." I looked down. She left. Mia sat beside me. "Claire left." I nodded. "She wants a divorce." Her expression changed. "Because of Ryan?" I did not answer. She already knew. "Ethan, look at me." I looked at her. "You cannot destroy yourself because someone else failed to see your value." "I loved her, Mia." "I know. I thought she was my family." "She was. But family does not make you feel replaceable." Her words stayed in my mind. A few days later, Daniel came to see me. My oldest friend walked in carrying food. "You look terrible." I smiled slightly. "Nice to see you too." He placed the food on the table. "I'm serious, Ethan. I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "Start over." Daniel sat across from me. "You are not starting over. You are starting from experience." I shook my head. "She chose someone else. And that means I lost." Daniel looked at me carefully. "No. Losing someone who does not value you is not the same as losing your worth." I wanted to believe him, but every night I still felt the pain. I imagined Claire with Ryan. I imagined her laughing with him the way she used to laugh with me. Those thoughts destroyed me. One night, I stood in front of the mirror and barely recognized myself. "I cannot stay like this," I whispered. That was the first time I admitted the truth. Claire had broken my heart, but I was the only person who could rebuild it. The next morning I packed my things. The apartment that once felt like home now felt like a place where I was trapped. I looked around one final time. "I loved you, Claire," I whispered. "But I cannot keep begging someone to choose me." I closed the door behind me. I did not know where my future would lead. I did not know who I would become. But for the first time since the divorce, I made one decision. I would survive. The days ahead were painful, but I started taking small steps. I cleaned my new place, returned to work, and forced myself to leave the memories behind. Sometimes I still reached for my phone to call Claire. Sometimes I still wanted to ask why I was not enough. But I stopped myself. I realized I was searching for answers from the person who caused my pain. I had spent years proving my love to someone who had already decided to leave. Now I had to prove something to myself. I had to remember that I was more than a husband who got abandoned. I was Ethan, and I was still standing. The road ahead would be hard, but I knew I would find strength. Chapter 3. The Man She Left Behind. The first morning in my new apartment felt strange. I woke up before my alarm, staring at the unfamiliar ceiling above me. For a few seconds, I forgot everything. Then reality came back. I was alone. My marriage was over. Claire was gone. I sat on the edge of the bed and whispered, "So this is my life now." The old Ethan would have spent the entire day wondering what Claire was doing, who she was with, and whether she missed me. But I was tired of being that person. I looked at myself in the mirror. "You cannot keep waiting for someone who already left," I told myself. Those words were painful, but they were true. I started rebuilding my life slowly. I returned to work. I cleaned my apartment. I started cooking again. Simple things that I had forgotten how to do because I was too busy trying to save a marriage that was already falling apart. A few weeks later, I walked into my office and saw Sarah standing near my desk. Sarah worked in the department next to mine. We had spoken before, but we were never close. She looked at me carefully. "Are you okay?" I placed my coffee on the table. "I'm fine." She smiled slightly. "You always say that, because I am." "No, Ethan. You say it because you don't want people to worry about you." I looked at her. "That obvious? To someone who pays attention, yes." I laughed quietly. "I guess I'm not as good at hiding things as I thought." Sarah sat across from me. "You don't have to explain everything. Sometimes people just need someone to listen." I looked down. My wife left me. Sarah did not react with surprise. "I'm sorry." She wanted something different. "And what do you want?" I paused. Nobody had asked me that question before. "I don't know anymore." Sarah nodded. "That's okay." "That's okay?" "Yes. You lost something important. You are allowed to not have all the answers immediately." Her words felt different. She was not trying to fix me. She was not telling me what I did wrong. She was simply listening. Meanwhile, Claire had started her new life with Ryan. At least, that was what I heard from others. Everyone told me she looked happy. At first, that hurt. I wondered how someone could destroy a marriage and look happier afterward. But slowly, I stopped caring. I focused on myself. I started taking extra projects at work. I improved my skills. I saved money. I built confidence that I had lost during my marriage. One evening, Daniel visited me. He looked around my apartment. "Not bad." I smiled. "It's still empty." "No, Ethan. It's peaceful." I sat on the couch. Sometimes I still hate that she moved on so easily. Daniel nodded. "That feeling is normal. I want her to regret it." He looked at me. "Do you really?" I stayed quiet. Daniel continued. "Or do you just want proof that you matter?" His question hit me harder than I expected. Because he was right. I did not truly want revenge. I wanted Claire to understand what she lost. I wanted her to know that the man she walked away from was not worthless. "I spent so much time trying to prove I was enough for her," I said. Daniel smiled. "Maybe now you should prove it to yourself." That night, I thought about his words. For years, my happiness depended on Claire's love. I measured my worth by how she saw me. But I was starting to understand something. Someone leaving me did not mean I had nothing left. It meant I had a chance to discover who I was without them. Months passed. My life changed. I became stronger. I became calmer. I stopped checking Claire's social media. I stopped asking people about her. I stopped wondering if she missed me. I was finally moving forward. Then one day, while leaving work, I saw a familiar car parked across the street. I stopped walking. Claire was sitting inside. She looked at me through the window. For a moment, our eyes met. I expected to feel anger. I expected pain. But instead, I felt something unexpected. Peace. Claire looked different. Not happier. Not confident. Just uncertain. She watched me walk away. And for the first time, she was not looking at the broken man she left behind. She was looking at someone she no longer recognized. The man who had lost everything and somehow found himself again. Chapter 4. The truth behind her perfect love story. I thought seeing Claire again would reopen my wounds. I thought I would feel the same pain I felt when she walked away. But when I saw her sitting inside that car, I only felt silence. A strange kind of peace. I continued walking and did not look back. The old Ethan would have stopped. The old Ethan would have searched for answers. But I was not that man anymore. A week later, I received a message. "Ethan, can we talk?" I stared at the screen for several minutes. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Another part of me wanted to know why. I replied, "Okay. When?" We met at a quiet coffee shop near my office. Claire arrived, looking nervous. "Thank you for coming," she said. I nodded. "What did you want to talk about?" She looked down. "I wanted to know how you are." I almost smiled. "After the divorce?" She swallowed. "Yes, I'm better." Those two words seemed to surprise her. "Better?" "Yes, Claire. I am finally living my own life." She looked at me carefully. You seem different. I am different. She touched her cup. I didn't expect that. What did you expect? She became quiet. Maybe she expected me to still be waiting. Maybe she thought I would always be the man who begged her to stay. But that man was gone. Meanwhile, I slowly learned what happened between Claire and Ryan. Their perfect relationship was not as perfect as everyone believed. One afternoon, I received a call from Mark, an old business contact. Ethan, I heard you were working on new projects. I am trying. Trying is not enough. You have talent. You just stop believing in yourself. His words motivated me. Mark offered me a chance to work on a major project together. For the first time in years, I felt excited about something that belonged only to me. While I was building my future, Claire was discovering the truth about hers. Ryan was not the person she imagined. The man who promised her excitement became the man who disappointed her. She once told me Ryan understood her better. But understanding someone is not the same as caring about them. One evening, Claire called me. Ethan, I need to ask you something. What is it? Did you ever hate me? I stayed silent. No. Why not? Because hate would mean I still wanted something from you. She sounded hurt. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. I know. Those two words sounded different coming from her. Not defensive. Not angry. Just regretful. I thought I was choosing happiness, she whispered. And did you find it? She did not answer. That answer told me everything. After the call ended, I sat quietly. A part of me felt satisfied. Not because Claire was suffering, but because the truth had finally appeared. I remembered the nights I blamed myself. I remembered wondering why I was not enough. Now I understood. Sometimes people leave not because you failed. Sometimes they leave because they do not recognize your value until you are gone. I continued working with Mark and rebuilding my confidence. Sarah noticed the change. You look happier, she said one day. I feel happier. That is good. I think I finally stopped fighting the past. Sarah smiled. That is when people usually start winning. I did not know what the future would bring. I did not know if Claire would ever truly understand what she lost. But for the first time, I did not need her regret. I did not need her apology. I only needed to keep moving forward, because the man she left behind was disappearing, and the man I was becoming was someone she could never control again. I finally accepted that my broken heart was not a weakness. It was proof that I had loved deeply. But love was not supposed to destroy me forever. I had a future waiting for me beyond the pain Claire left behind. Every step forward reminded me that losing her was not the end of my story. It was the beginning of mine. Chapter 5. The Return of the Woman Who Left Me. 6 months had passed since Claire walked out of my life. 6 months since I signed those divorce papers. 6 months since I thought my world had ended. But life had a strange way of proving me wrong. I was no longer waking up with sadness. I was no longer checking my phone hoping Claire had sent a message. I was no longer wondering what I did wrong. I was finally living. My career was growing. My confidence was returning. My apartment no longer felt like a place I escaped to. It felt like my home. Then one evening, everything changed. I was leaving my office when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Ethan. I stopped. I knew that voice. Slowly, I turned around. Claire was standing there. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. The woman who once knew every detail about my life now felt like a stranger. Claire. She gave a small smile. Hi. I looked at her carefully. Why are you here? She looked nervous. I wanted to see you. Why? She looked away. I don't know. I almost smiled. The old Ethan would have been happy just hearing those words. The old Ethan would have thought this was a second chance. But I was different now. You cannot just appear after 6 months and expect everything to be normal. I know. Do you? She looked at me. Yes. I wanted to believe her. But trust was not something that returned because someone said sorry. Are you with Ryan? I asked. Her face changed. That small reaction told me enough. What happened? Claire took a deep breath. It didn't work out. I nodded slowly. I'm sorry. She looked surprised. That's it. What else should I say? I thought you would be angry. I was. She lowered her eyes. I hurt you. Yes. Her eyes became wet. I never realized how much. I looked away, because hearing those words was harder than I expected. Part of me wanted to forgive her immediately. Part of me remembered sitting alone in that apartment, wondering why I was not enough. "I missed you," she whispered. My heart moved for a second, only a second, because memories are powerful. They can make you forget pain. They can make you remember only the good moments. I remembered our first date, our wedding day, the promises we made, but I also remembered watching her choose someone else. "I missed who you were before you left," I said. Claire looked at me. "What does that mean?" "It means I missed the woman who loved me, not the woman who decided I was replaceable." She looked hurt. "I made a mistake." "Yes, you did." "Can mistakes be forgiven?" I stayed silent. That was the question I had been avoiding. Could I forgive her? Could I forget? Could I trust her again? That night, I called Mia. She answered immediately. "Ethan, is everything okay?" Claire came back. There was silence. She came back. "Yes." "What does she want?" "I think she wants another chance." Mia sighed. "Do you want one?" I looked out the window. "I don't know." "Ethan, remember what happened." "I do." "Then remember everything, not just the parts you miss." Her words were painful because they were true. The next day, Claire called again. "Can we meet?" I agreed. We sat in the same coffee shop where we first talked after the divorce. Funny how places could hold so many memories. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," Claire said. I listened. "But I need you to know something." "What?" "I was wrong about Ryan." I said nothing. "I thought he was the person who would make me happy. I thought I was missing something with you. And I realized I was missing something because I stopped appreciating what I already had." Her voice broke. "I lost someone who truly loved me." I looked at her. Those words were everything I once wanted to hear. But now they felt different. "I spent months hoping you would realize my value," I said. "I know. But when you finally did, I had already learned something." "What?" "That my value was never decided by you." Claire became quiet. For the first time, I saw her understand. She did not lose me because of Ryan. She lost me because she stopped choosing me. When I returned home that night, I sat alone and thought about everything. I could forgive her, but forgiveness did not mean going back. And that was the hardest truth I had ever accepted. Because sometimes the person who breaks your heart comes back after you have already learned how to live without them. Chapter 6. The game she played finally ends. I thought I understood everything about Claire's decision. I thought she left because she wanted a different life. I thought she simply stopped loving me. But I was wrong. The truth was much deeper. A few days after Claire returned, I received a message from Daniel. "Ethan, we need to talk." I called him immediately. "What happened?" "I found something you should know." My heart became heavy. "What is it?" "It's about Ryan." I stayed silent. Daniel continued. "I talked to someone who knows him. Apparently, Ryan always talked about Claire like she was a challenge." A cold feeling moved through my body. A challenge? Yes. He wanted to prove he could get her. I closed my eyes. Suddenly, every memory made sense. The late-night messages. The sudden changes. The way Claire started doubting our marriage. "Are you sure?" "Ethan, I wouldn't tell you this if I wasn't." I sat there quietly. For months, I blamed myself. I wondered what I lacked. I wondered why Claire chose someone else. But now I understood. I was not competing with a better man. I was competing with an illusion. That evening, Claire came to my apartment. She noticed my expression. "Something happened?" I looked at her. "Did Ryan ever make you feel like leaving me was the only choice?" She became nervous. "Why are you asking this?" "Because I want the truth." Claire looked down. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she whispered, "He always told me you were holding me back." I felt my hands tighten. "What else?" "He said you were too comfortable, that I deserved someone more exciting." I laughed bitterly. "So he made you believe our love was the problem." Claire's eyes filled with tears. "I was weak." "Yes, you were." She looked hurt. "But I was wrong." I nodded. "I know. I should have trusted you." "Yes." "I should have protected our marriage." "Yes." Every answer hurt. Not because I wanted to punish her, because those were the truths we both had to accept. A few days later, I saw Ryan at a business event. For a moment, anger filled me. The old Ethan would have confronted him. The old Ethan would have wanted revenge. But I walked toward him calmly. He looked surprised. "Ethan." "Ryan." He smiled. I heard you're doing well. I am. That's good. I looked at him. Can I ask you something? Sure. Did you ever actually care about Claire? His smile disappeared. What kind of question is that? A simple one. He looked away. You have no idea what happened between us. I know enough. He became defensive. Claire made her own choices. That's true. I stepped closer. And she will live with those choices. Ryan looked uncomfortable. You think you won? I shook my head. No. He looked confused. Then what? I don't need to win against you. I smiled slightly. I already won when I stopped needing someone else's approval. Those words surprised even me. Because they were true. I did not need Ryan to fail. I did not need Claire to suffer. I had already escaped the pain that once controlled me. Later that night, Sarah and I talked after work. You look different, she said. I smiled. I finally stopped carrying anger everywhere. That's a big step. I thought revenge would make me happy. And it wouldn't. Sarah nodded. Most people don't realize that. I looked outside the window. For a long time, I wanted Claire to feel what I felt. And now I just want peace. Sarah smiled. That sounds like the old Ethan is gone. I laughed. Maybe. No. I think he's still there. He just learned his worth. Her words stayed with me. The next time I saw Claire, she looked at me differently. Not like someone she could return to whenever she wanted, but like someone she finally understood. I lost you because I thought I could find something better, she said quietly. I looked at her. And did you? She lowered her eyes. No. I nodded. The truth was finally out. Claire had chased a dream and lost reality. Ryan had wanted a victory and lost everything. But I had gained something they both forgot existed. Myself. And that was something nobody could take away from me again. Chapter 7. The Price of Regret. I used to believe the worst pain in life was losing someone you loved. I was wrong. The worst pain was realizing you had spent years fighting for someone who had already stopped fighting for you. But after everything that happened, I was finally learning how to let go. Claire's life had changed completely. The woman who once believed she was choosing a better future was now facing the consequences of her choices. One evening, I received a call from Daniel. Ethan, did you hear about Ryan? I sat back in my chair. No. What happened? He left Claire. I closed my eyes. For some reason, I expected to feel satisfaction. I expected happiness. But I felt nothing. Are you surprised? Daniel asked. No. Why not? Because people who build relationships on selfish reasons usually end up alone. Daniel was quiet for a moment. You really changed. I had to. A few days later, Claire asked to meet again. This time, I knew it was different. She was not coming back because she was lonely. She was coming back because she finally understood what she lost. We met at a small park where we used to walk together years ago. Claire looked tired. Not physically. Emotionally. Thank you for meeting me, she said. I nodded. What did you want to talk about? She looked at the ground. I owe you an apology. I stayed silent. I know saying sorry does not fix anything. No, it doesn't. She nodded. I know. For the first time, I saw no excuses in her eyes. Only regret. I was selfish, Ethan. I looked at her. Yes, you were. I thought I was unhappy because of you. And I realized I was unhappy because I stopped appreciating what I had. Those words were painful to hear. Not because they were wrong. Because I wished I heard them before everything was destroyed. I spent months blaming myself, I said. Claire looked at me. I know. I thought I wasn't exciting enough. I thought I wasn't successful enough. I thought I wasn't the kind of man you wanted. Her eyes filled with tears. You were everything I needed. I shook my head. Maybe. But you didn't see it. She looked away. That was the truth. Sometimes losing someone teaches you their value. But sometimes by the time you learn, they have already moved on. I want you to know something, Claire said. What? I never stopped caring about you. I looked at her. That doesn't change what happened. I know. I loved you, Claire. Her eyes became emotional. I know. But love alone isn't enough. She nodded slowly. I understand. I expected anger. I expected excuses. But she accepted my words. That showed me something. Maybe Claire was finally becoming the person I thought she was. But even if she changed, I could not erase the past. That night, I called Daniel. I met Claire. How did it go? She apologized. And I believe she is sorry. Daniel paused. But I cannot go back. Why? I looked out the window. Because forgiveness and returning are not the same thing. Daniel smiled. That's something the old Ethan would never say. He was right. The old Ethan would have taken any apology as a sign of hope. The old Ethan would have ignored his own pain just to have Claire back. But I was different. I had learned something important. My heart deserved protection too. Over the next few weeks, Claire tried to rebuild her life. She started focusing on herself. She apologized to people she had hurt. She stopped blaming everyone else. And I respected that. But respect was not the same as love. My feelings for her had changed. The person I once waited for no longer existed. And neither did the man who waited. One evening, Sarah asked me a question. Do you still love Claire? I thought carefully. I will always care about her. That wasn't my question. I smiled. No, I don't love her the way I used to. Sarah nodded. That means you healed. I looked at the city lights outside. Maybe she was right. Healing did not mean forgetting. It meant remembering without breaking. For the first time, I could think about Claire without feeling anger, without feeling pain, without wishing she had chosen differently. Her regret was no longer my victory. My peace was. And that was the moment I realized I had finally moved on. Chapter 8. The life I built without her. I never imagined that losing Claire would become the reason I found myself. For years, I thought my happiness depended on keeping our marriage alive. I believed if I worked harder, loved more, and gave everything I had, nothing could break us. But I was wrong. Sometimes, the person you fight hardest to keep is the person who teaches you how to stand alone. Months passed, and my life changed in ways I never expected. My career was growing faster than before. The project I started with Mark became one of the biggest achievements of my professional life. One afternoon, Mark called me into his office. Ethan, I want to tell you something. I looked at him. What is it? You are finally becoming the person I always knew you could be. I smiled. I don't think I would have changed without everything that happened. Mark nodded. Sometimes pain forces people to discover their strength. I thought about those words. He was right. The divorce broke me, but it also removed the fear that had been controlling me. I no longer made decisions based on keeping someone else happy. I started making choices for myself. Even my relationship with Sarah slowly changed. She never rushed me. She never asked me to forget my past. She simply stayed beside me while I created my future. One evening, we were sitting at a small restaurant after work. You seem happier these days, Sarah said. I smiled. I am. What changed? I looked at her. I stopped waiting for someone else to give me permission to be happy. Sarah smiled. That sounds like a difficult lesson. It was, but an important one. I nodded. The most important. Sarah looked down at her coffee. You know, when I first met you, you were always apologizing. I laughed. Really? Yes. You apologized for being busy. You apologized for having problems. You apologized for things that were not even your fault. I became quiet, because she was right. During my marriage, I slowly forgot my own worth. I thought loving someone meant putting myself last. But now I understood. A healthy relationship should not require you to disappear. A few weeks later, I saw Claire again. This time it was different. She was not asking for another chance. She was simply checking on me. You look happy, she said. I smiled. I am. She looked around. You really build a new life. Yes. She nodded slowly. I never thought you would move on so quickly. I looked at her. It wasn't quick, Claire. She became quiet. It took me a long time. I know. I cried. I struggled. I questioned everything. Her eyes became emotional. But you kept going. Yes. She looked at me. I'm proud of you. Those words were strange coming from her. A year ago, I would have done anything to hear them. Now, I appreciated them, but I no longer needed them. Thank you, I said. She smiled sadly. I guess I wanted you to stay the same person after I left. I looked at her. Why? Because then I could believe I still had control. Her honesty surprised me. For the first time, Claire understood. She did not lose me because I changed. She lost me because she expected me to stay broken. "I'm glad you're doing better," she said. "I'm glad you are too." There was no anger, no bitterness, just two people who once loved each other accepting that their paths had changed. Later that night, I thought about everything. The old Ethan would have considered this a victory. The old Ethan would have wanted Claire to see my success and regret leaving. But I no longer needed that. Her regret was not my happiness. My happiness belonged to me. I looked around my apartment. The place that once felt empty now felt complete. The silence that once hurt me now gave me peace. I realized something important. Claire was never the reason I was happy. She was only part of my story. A painful chapter. A chapter that changed me. A chapter that taught me how strong I could become. And now I was writing a new one. A chapter where I chose myself. A chapter where I finally understood that losing someone who did not value me was not the end. It was the beginning of everything I was meant to become. Chapter 9. The Final Choice. I thought I had already faced the hardest moments of my life. I thought signing the divorce papers was the most painful thing I would ever experience. But I was wrong. Sometimes the hardest battles happen after you have already healed. Because when someone who broke your heart asks for another chance, you are not fighting them. You are fighting your own memories. A few weeks after my conversation with Claire, she asked to meet me again. When I saw her message, I stared at it for a long time. "Can we talk one last time?" One last time. Those words carried a lot of weight. I agreed. We met at the same place where we had our first serious conversation after the divorce. Claire looked nervous. "Thank you for coming," she said. I nodded. "What did you want to talk about?" She took a deep breath. "I want to be honest with you." I waited. "I still love you." Those words once would have changed everything. Months ago, I would have forgotten every painful memory just to hear them. But now, I only felt sadness. Not anger. Not happiness. Just sadness. "Claire, I know what you're going to say." "Do you?" She nodded. "You're going to say it's too late." I looked at her. "Because it is." Her eyes became emotional. "I know I hurt you." "Yes." "I know I destroyed something valuable." "Yes." "But people make mistakes." "They do." "Then why can't we fix ours?" I stayed silent. Because a part of me wanted to say yes. A part of me remembered the woman I married. The woman who held my hand on our wedding day. The woman who promised she would always choose me. But that woman disappeared the moment she decided I was not enough. "I spent months hoping you would come back," I said. Claire looked at me. "I know. I imagined this moment so many times." "What did you imagine?" I smiled sadly. "I imagined running to you." Her eyes filled with tears. But the person waiting for you doesn't exist anymore." The silence between us felt heavy. Claire looked down. "I lost you." I nodded. "Yes." "Because of Ryan." "No." She looked confused. "Then why?" "Because you stopped choosing me before you ever left." Her expression changed. Those words hurt her, because they were true. "I thought I needed something different," she whispered. "And I thought I needed someone who would never leave." She looked at me. "I'm sorry." I believed her. That was the hardest part. I believed she was truly sorry. But being sorry did not undo everything. "I forgive you," I said. Her eyes widened. "You do?" "Yes." "Then why can't we try again?" I looked at her. "Because forgiveness is not the same as forgetting." She became quiet. "And it is not the same as going back." A tear rolled down her cheek. "I wish I understood your value sooner." "I wish you did too." We sat there quietly. For the first time, there was no fight between us. No blame. No anger. Only acceptance. "I hope you find happiness," I said. Claire looked at me. "Without you?" I nodded. "Yes." She gave a small, painful smile. "That sounds impossible." It did for me too. I stood up. Before leaving, I looked at her one last time. "Claire, I want you to know something." "What?" "I don't hate you." She looked surprised. "I thought you would. I used to hate what happened. I used to hate the pain, but I don't want to carry that anymore." She nodded slowly. "You really changed." "Yes. And I caused that change." I smiled slightly. "You were the reason it started." But I was the reason it continued. Those words felt powerful. Because they were true. Claire was part of my story. But she was no longer controlling it. When I walked away from that meeting, I did not feel like I lost anything. For the first time, I felt completely free. I had forgiven the person who hurt me. But more importantly, I had finally forgiven myself. I forgave myself for begging someone to stay. I forgave myself for thinking I was not enough. I forgave myself for forgetting my own worth. The past was behind me, and for the first time in years, I was ready for the future. Not because I found someone else, not because Claire regretted leaving, but because I finally found myself. Chapter 10. Happiness was the revenge I never planned. I used to believe revenge meant making someone feel the same pain they caused me. I wanted Claire to regret leaving. I wanted her to understand the nights I spent alone, the tears I hid, and the questions that kept me awake. I wanted her to know what it felt like to lose someone who truly loved her. But after everything that happened, I learned something important. The greatest revenge was never watching someone suffer. The greatest revenge was building a life they could no longer be part of. Years ago, I thought losing Claire meant losing everything. I thought my happiness ended the day she chose Ryan over me. I thought my future disappeared with my marriage. But standing where I was now, I understood how wrong I had been. One morning, I stood by my apartment window, looking at the city. The same city where I once walked around feeling broken. The same city where I wondered if I would ever smile again. I smiled, because I finally knew the truth. I had survived. My phone rang. It was Mia. "Ethan, are you busy?" I laughed. "No. What happened?" "I just wanted to check on you. You always do that. Because you are my brother." I smiled. "You know something?" "What?" "A year ago, I thought my life was over." Mia became quiet. "I remember. But now?" "Now what?" "Now I think that was the moment my real life started." She laughed softly. "I always knew you would find your way." After the call ended, I sat quietly. I thought about the person I used to be. A man who measured his worth by someone else's love. A man who believed being abandoned meant being worthless. A man who forgot that he was a person before he was a husband. I was not that man anymore. My relationship with Sarah continued to grow slowly. I never rushed it. I never wanted to build something new on the ruins of my past. One evening, Sarah and I walked through the park. "You seem different today," she said. I smiled. I was thinking about the past. Does it still hurt? I thought about the question. No, not even a little. I shook my head. It reminds me of what I survived. Sarah smiled. That is a good thing. I used to think Claire ruined my life. And now I think she changed it. Sarah looked surprised. Changed it? Yes. If she never left, I might have never discovered who I really was. She nodded. That's a powerful way to see it. I looked ahead. I don't thank her for hurting me. Sarah smiled. But I accept that pain was part of my journey. Months later, I saw Claire one final time. It was not dramatic. There were no tears, no arguments, just two people who once loved each other standing in the same place. "I heard you're doing really well," she said. "I am. I'm happy for you." "Thank you." She looked at me for a moment. "You really found happiness without me." I smiled. "Yes." She nodded. "I used to think you would always wait for me." "I know. And now I understand that was unfair." I said nothing, because there was nothing left to say. Claire looked down. "I'm sorry for everything." I believed her. "I know. And thank you." "For what?" "For loving me when I didn't know how to appreciate it." Those words would have broken me before. Now, they simply reminded me how far I had come. "I hope you find peace too, Claire." She looked at me. "You really don't hate me?" "No." "Why?" "Because hate keeps people connected." She became quiet, and I finally learned how to let go. We said goodbye, and this time, it was truly goodbye. I walked away without looking back. Not because I was angry, not because I wanted to prove something, but because I was finally free. Looking back, Claire thought divorce was just a game. She thought she could leave, explore another life, and return whenever she wanted. She thought I would always be standing in the same place. She was wrong. The man she left behind was gone. The broken husband who begged for love disappeared. The man who blamed himself disappeared. The man who needed her approval disappeared. In his place was someone stronger, someone who understood his value, someone who knew happiness was never something another person could give or take away. I lost my marriage. I lost the future I imagined. I lost the person I thought I would grow old with. But I gained something far more important. I gained myself. And that was the happiness Claire never expected me to find.